My girlfriend keeps on degrading me. What can I do to stop or change it? So there was a time period where I was working, and getting paid well, but the working conditions was very terrible, and she had an easy job, but it wasn't paying well, and I never held it up against her when we came to tough times. I was the one who actually helped her find a better job for herself that she has now and makes way more money. After the falling out with me and my previous work, I decided to step somewhere else, and at first it wasn't that bad, but over time, management started switching me around, and I'm trying my best to get back on track, and I have explained all of that to her. Now I've been at home more than she have, and I try my best to try to make everything easier at home, so when she gets home from work, she won't really have to deal with anything in regards to cleaning and taking care of our pets. But it never seems to be enough. It seems like, despite me doing all of my efforts to try to make things easy for her, when she comes home, it's never enough, especially if it's not up to her standards. The other day we both had got sick from COVID and had to stay home. I missed out on a lot of money, and so did she, but then the next week after that we had went to work, and seeing as though her job lets her get same-day pay, we managed to be able to get a little bit of money to pay some of the bills. But when we went back to work and payday had came, she had gotten upset because her paycheck was low and because of my job situation. Mine was also low, but it's typical that way, as like I said above, my job keeps switching me around. I've been trying to apply to many different places. I've been trying to contact my job on giving me more shifts, and even put the idea of me trying to buy a bike so I can do DoorDash or Uber Eats on the side. Just so I can try to pull my weight in the house when it comes to money. But my issue is when it comes to money is what it's being spent on versus what's being made. I know that I don't make that much. I try my best not to spend money on random things. I mainly spend my money on household stuff like laundry detergent, soap, pet food, and rest goes to bills and transportation to work. But on her side, she tends to spend money on weed. Sometimes I would even take out money out of my paycheck to get her some. All in regards to that, the other day we got into an argument, because when it came to paying the bills that day, her paycheck was low and she was getting very upset, and so I tried my best to cheer her up throughout the day, and she just didn't want me around, so I just tried to sit by her but not really try to speak to her, for the simple fact that I didn't want to escalate anything. But I can still feel a very negative vibe coming off. But later on, she had went to go get a shower, and we had an argument due to the fact that she was upset about soap and started banging the shower walls. Mind you, she has multiple different body soap that she uses all in one shower, and I explained to her what happened, which she said herself was a good reason, but she was still upset, banging the wall. And when I went the second time to ask her why she is still banging the walls, if I told her the reason, and she said it was a good reason. But I basically got dismissed in a very rude way, so at this point I just gave up, because I spent the entire day trying my best to make it easy for her when she get home and she's upset about soap. Mind you, she has 3 different types of body soap that she uses all at the same time in that bathroom. Then my whole thing is when the roads are reversed, and she finishes something that I had brought into the house, I never get upset at her for the simple fact that it was put to good use. But it's never in her case, it's always an issue. It's like she has to have the last use of the product, or there has to be more than half in there, and sometimes I don't even use it and I would still get blamed. But after that whole conversation, she had came to me and started telling me that she wasn't upset at me, but she was upset at the situation about the soap, and my thing was, that's confusing, because how are you going to tell me that you are not upset at me, but upset at the situation, but you were the same person who told me that it was okay, and proceeded to continue banging on the wall. Obviously there's still something there. Then she proceeded to come at me by saying that I'm not pulling weight in the house, and I'm very spoiled, and basically just degrading me. But my thing is, when it comes to her, I always put her on the pedestal when it comes to anything in regards to me cleaning up before she comes home. When the time when she wasn't in a good position in regards to making money, I never made her feel less of a person, but helped her situation get better by literally coming home from work and applying for jobs for her in which she got a good job from. I always try my best to make sure her needs are met. If I mess up the first time, I always try to correct it the second time. I never come for her when she does stuff that I don't like, or even come to her in a disrespectful manner right off the bat. Even her family members would call her out on the way she would talk to me. I'm trying my best in regards to everything, and it feels like I'm stuck because every which way I go is an issue. We are not in speaking terms right now, and I'm currently at work and have to see her later on when I get home. I really don't feel like speaking to her, because I generally felt disrespected, and even after our whole argument last night, and after she had disrespected me, I just stopped talking to her, and she had left the room and came back, trying to speak to me, but I generally did not want to speak to her because I generally felt disrespected, especially when I was trying my best the entire day to be positive and help her out. But she ruined it over soap. And the crazy thing is, even I did felt disrespected later in that night. I still went into the bedroom and give her a kiss before walking out while she was half asleep. This morning, I didn't get no acknowledgement that she left the house, whether it be a kiss, whether it be a tap to let me know, but if it was me and I was upset about something, I'm not allowed to do that. I still would have to give her some type of acknowledgement. Lastly, another thing that she does, which I don't like, is when she justifies her disrespect by predicting what I would do in her shoes. For example, she would do something and then back it up by saying if the rules were reverse, I would have done the same or worse. But my thing is, she doesn't know that she's completely wrong because I wouldn't and I haven't. At this point, I don't know what I'm looking for in regards to answers, but if I can get some type of advice to maneuver, or to make some type of change in this relationship, please let me know. Story 2. I don't know how to tell my maid of honor she was unhelpful and made my wedding more stressful. Not sure how to tell maid of honor she made my wedding even more stressful. I got married to my husband a few weeks ago. We had a very small wedding in a national park with only a dozen guests. My parents originally weren't going to come because I was no contact with them after a lot of abusive situations, but we managed so somewhat mend our relationship a few weeks before the wedding and they ended up coming. We couldn't afford a wedding planner and we only had a few basic vendors, but there were still a lot of moving parts because we got married at sunrise and had several different locations we did wedding activities at until sunset. My husband has been working 70 to 85 hours a week for the last 3 years, so he was too busy and tired to do much with planning, which caused several arguments. He did step it up the couple months before the date when he realized how stressed I was. However, it was basically just me making all these decisions through the majority of the planning process with some input from my friend Emily, 22F, and it got to the point I wasn't able to focus on my job properly because I was so stressed. He knows he made it hard on me and apologized, but I also have tried being understanding that he doesn't even have time to get 8 hours of sleep 6-7 nights of the week because we're saving up to buy a house. I asked my cousin, Lexi, to be my maid of honor. She lives out of state. We are close in age and has basically been the sister I never had my whole life. When we were kids, we promised each other we would be Mo's. When I asked her, she said, I have a lot of plans this summer, so I won't be able to do much planning, but if you're okay with that I would love to. I said that's fine, but I wasn't expecting that to mean she wasn't going to give a shit about my wedding. I paid for her dress, part of her Airbnb, and her plane ticket. I paid for some stuff for my other bridesmaids, but not as much as Lexi. She didn't even give me as much as a thank you. I had my other bridesmaid / best friend, Emily, who was helping me with a lot. Which basically meant I was hanging out with her every day and she would listen to me talk through all these details and tell me what she thought. I now realize I should have made Emily my Mo, but when I chose my wedding party in February I had only known Emily for 6 months and I didn't realize how close we would become. I didn't expect Lexi to help me plan major things, but she never asked me a single question about the wedding. The other bridesmaids all worked 2 or 3 jobs and every time we talked they would want to talk about the wedding. Lexi spent 2 months this summer traveling out of the country, not working. When she got back, I know she had more time than the other ladies. I would text Lexi something like a picture of my dress and makeup to ask for advice on what to change and she wouldn't answer. This happened several times, but it was literally, do you think this would be a good wedding party gift? Etc. So I got the hint and stopped asking her. When I would bring it up on the phone, she would change the subject. 2 weeks before my wedding, I really needed Lexi's help with basic things like how the bridesmaids were going to do their hair and makeup, which she got passive-aggressive in the GC about. I then was trying to schedule Monty and Petis for the girls the day before the wedding. She was busy traveling to meet a guy for the first time she had been talking to for a couple months and told me she couldn't reply until she got home because she wanted to focus on him and that they were wanting to get married in 6 months. She lied to me about what day she was coming home and at this point she was stalling planning because I just needed to let the salon know if she wanted a mani or pedi, which she didn't even end up coming to. To top it all off, her mom's 60th birthday was the day of my bachelorette party so she couldn't come. This was not a problem with me. I made casual and the weekend before the wedding because I already had one friend coming from out of state and didn't want them to feel pressured to travel twice. Emily agreed to plan it instead, but called Lexi asking for ideas and to send some questions for prompts for a game. Emily said Lexi wasn't even listening throughout the conversation and never texted her anything that she said she would. When I asked Lexi to follow up with Emily because the block party was 1 week away, she said she was busy with this guy and was putting up a boundary to not be bothered until she got back to decide if she was going to marry him or not. Even though she had time at the airport and was just chilling at his parents' house while he was working. She then dragged our grandma into this and was complaining I was asking too much of her after I was trying to see what hair and makeup she wanted and to contact Emily. This caused so much drama with my grandma siding with her, and I called Lexi asking if she even wanted to come. She said yes and apologized for not being more involved. But she continued to not do anything, except ask to see the itinerary I made and how I was feeling the week before. She really didn't do anything to help the wedding day except give a nice speech at dinner. Otherwise the day was perfect and some people said it was the best wedding they've ever been to. The photographer was doing stuff like fluffing my dress and fixing my veil, which I think Lexi was supposed to do. Is it even worth expressing my disappointment, or should I just let it go? I want to say something, but she gets defensive easily. With her wedding to this guy she just met coming up soon, it's going to be awkward for me. I want to help, but it feels one-sided. They might elope anyway. Additionally, I have done a lot for Emily since because she went so far above and beyond. Comment. I don't see any point, because her actions, people's actions are the reality of a person's truth. Say she doesn't care about you. Just fade out her life and be polite but distant when you see her at family events. I wouldn't bother saying anything, but I would adjust the relationship accordingly. Do not offer up your limited free time for her wedding, or to help her in other ways. Put a polite distance between you two and use your time and money on people who showed up for you. Go to her wedding of course, but I'd decline being a bridesmaid and just say sorry, I don't have the time it takes to be a good bridesmaid, but am happy for you and will be there to support. That way you don't waste money on her and you don't feel angry the whole time doing things for her she didn't do for you. Sometimes, clearing the air isn't worth it. It is better to just match their energy and move on with your life. She's no longer your best friend. Sometimes friendships just wither away for whatever reason. Demote her to old friend from childhood who I talk to every so often.